So, hello everyone who's already here. We have still a couple of minutes before we can officially start with our webinar. Hello, Piret.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Gina.
Hello.
Hello, Dorothea. It seems that everything is working. So let's wait another 3 minutes and we will then officially start with our today's webinar.
Awesome.
I see that there are already many participants here. So if you already have some questions to our guest speakers today or to me, feel free to add your questions already to the chat or use the questions tab. We will have time for questions at the end of the webinar, but also at the end of each presentation.
My neighbor's just starting to drill. Good timing.
Perfect timing.
Love it.
All right, but let's get started. Hello and welcome to RecruitLab's webinar on how to hire in a downturn. And we have really interesting topics today. We will talk about talent analytics and intelligence. We will also talk about analyzing and improving the recruitment process, and also about the importance of storytelling in talent attraction. So I chose those topics because I believe they are the most crucial ones, especially when there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. And it's clear that what worked in the recruitment a couple of years ago will probably not bring us the results we need today and even tomorrow. So yeah, my name is Evart. I'm one of the co-founders of RecruitLab. And RecruitLab is a recruitment software with built-in tools for recruitment marketing, video interviewing, and applicant tracking. So as a recruiter, you can basically do everything in one place. For example, you can create attractive career pages, you can create attractive recruitment landing pages. We all know that it is still a candidate-driven market. So as an employer, you need to sell yourself. And recruitment landing pages are the best for showcasing your company culture and values to attract the best talent, and also to offer good or positive candidate experience from the very first step. In addition to that, you can also have all the information about your candidates, recruitment projects, recruitment metrics in one place. And RecruitLab is trusted by both in-house recruitment teams and also by recruitment agencies in the UK and in other European countries. And it's built by recruiters for recruiters. So if you would like to learn more about RecruitLab and to get the best overview, I would recommend booking a product tour with us. I just shared the link in the chat, and we are happy to give you more information and show you how you could save time and basically make your own life easier with RecruitLab. All right, but let's move on to today's topics. As I mentioned, we have different topics in our agenda. Yesterday, I posted on LinkedIn that I really love my job because I get to speak to smart, awesome people from really exciting companies, and today is the day. So I'm really happy that Piret, Dorothea, Gina, you decided to join me today. Yeah, let's start with like a short introduction round before we go into more details. All of the guest speakers have prepared a 50-minute presentation, but we also have time for questions. So all the participants use this time to ask questions from those lovely ladies. And yeah, let's get started. Piret, maybe you can be the first one.
Introducing myself.
Yes.
So hello everyone, my name is Piret and I'm the Global Head of Talent Analytics, Sourcing and Research at Nortal. My background is 10 plus years in the recruitment. So data has been the centerpiece of all of my roles. And definitely there is the saying that the biggest lie in the world is statistics. So it is in a way like this. You can bend the data, but data is pretty much a strategic partnership, but also it is the storytelling. So this is something that I will share today.
Very good, thank you. Doro, let's move on to you.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Dorothea Schweinefuss. I've been working in recruitment for pretty much all my career long, different roles, but always really driven to work in scale-up environments where you can really have an impact growing the business together with your colleagues. In my previous company at Gorillas, I shifted from the typical office-related recruitment to more operations recruitment to focus on the strategic part of recruiting for the drivers there. And that's also what I'm doing now for almost a year at Crisp, an online grocery delivery company from the Netherlands.
Gina, you.
Similar to everybody else. Hi, I'm Gina. I'm the recruitment marketing and employer brand manager here at AO. My career has also been pretty much entirely recruitment. Started off agency side and then moved internal where I specialised in attraction. So for the last 3.5 years, I've really narrowed down on the talent attraction, recruitment marketing, employer brand, everything in that space is my kind of niche now. And likewise, I felt like I've probably recruited or attracted for everything at some point, whether that was tech, marketing, finance, delivery drivers, customer service, everything in between. So yeah, lots of different experience in different places, but very much in that attraction space now.
You're all coming from really different industries and companies. Obviously, interesting to know how this economical situation we are in has affected your company and also the recruitment plans. Piret, let's start with you again.
You cannot say that it hasn't affected. Definitely, it has been affecting as well. But I would say that our ambition still is to grow, and we are still hiring for the growth. But our ambition is slightly smaller than it was previously. So that's the truth. And the candidate market definitely is challenging in the same time as well. So yeah, the effect is here.
Mm-hmm. Dorothea, what about your company?
Yeah, for us, it's pretty much similar to what Piret is saying. We're still really ambitious, and luckily we work in the online grocery delivery business, so people always need to do groceries no matter what the economical situation is, so we can still be quite satisfied with our results recently. But we also take conscious decisions, just like the customers as well, I guess. And what I really liked about the last couple of months is that really brought all the teams from the company closer together and really developed like a laser focus, really, going for one goal together.
Gina, what about you?
I think, again, obviously all of our businesses are so different, and our business, ultimately, we're an online electrical retailer. So you can imagine during the pandemic, when everyone was stuck at home renovating their houses, everyone suddenly wanted to buy all these brand new things for their homes. And so there was a huge spike then. And it's really hard to kind of, do you compare yourself to the last couple of years, or do you compare yourself to pre-pandemic levels? So we're at a place where we're almost pre-pandemic levels, but if you were to look at the last year, it's a massive change. So again, we're not necessarily hiring for lots and lots of growth, but still keeping that focus on bringing the right people in and that quality, and making sure the right people are on board all the time. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. What I have heard from recruiters that we have been in contact with is that many companies are looking for ways how to decrease recruitment costs. And some of them are not using recruitment agencies anymore, so they try to do or fill all the positions with their in-house team, or maybe their in-house recruitment team is not so big anymore, so they need to be more efficient, but still fill the positions. So they're looking for more ways how to automate some kind of steps, or how to find new tools. Is this something you're also working on right now, or maybe not?
I can maybe start then. Yes, definitely. The time is giving us the opportunity to look back, but also in the same time plan ahead. So my role as a talent analytics and on the sourcing and research part as well is looking ahead, trying to see around the corner. So analyzing that what do we need, when do we need it, and how we can the best way equip our, not only the TA team, but also development teams in order to achieve our goals. So building the pipelines, talent pools, being more efficient on that side. But also in the same time, we are actually changing our core applicant tracking system. So this is definitely a challenging time, but brings us into this different level of efficiency, and also enables us a little bit of this kind of AI approach. So the launch is after 1 month. So quite excited to see that what's ahead.
Dorothea, what about your team?
Yeah, I mean, we with my team, we're working in high volume recruitment, so we really deal with a lot of candidates all the time. So there, anyways, the system is really crucial to support the processes, to really dive a bit deeper into what we're doing in my presentation. But there we're also really looking into a new ATS, really a tool that fits the purpose in order to be even more scalable. Otherwise, you just need a lot of manpower anyways, like no matter what the economical situation is.
And I think for us, it's really similar. We're really driving quality over quantity, and I think that's definitely a place where a lot of people have got to. So not necessarily automating things, but making sure that we've got the right, like I say, the right people on board, and that we've got our business priorities. We know what direction we're going in, and as a TA team, as a people team, how do we support that? How do we make sure that the right people are in place? So definitely a big focus on quality for us, and then all the different steps to get there. Not necessarily adding more steps into the process, because as we know, it's a candidate-driven market. But at the same time, how do we identify those people, and are we asking the right questions and things like that, really? So really similar, but quality is probably our biggest priority for sure.
Okay. Well, let's move on to your presentation, Piret. You will share some ideas and insights from talent analytics and intelligence. And also, as you already mentioned, your title seems to be quite unique. You were recently promoted to Global Head of Talent Analytics, Sourcing and Research. So it would be really interesting to learn about the story behind this decision. Like, how did you end up in a position like this? And what does it actually mean to have a title like this? Like, what are you doing? I will share your slide as well, and just let me know when you would like me to change the slide. Unfortunately,
no worries.
Good.
Until the presentation is loading, then I can definitely kick off and share the story. So yes, the title is definitely interesting and unique, maybe. But I think that the talent analytics and talent intelligence part has been in the recruitment or the talent acquisition world quite some time already. So, but for us, how the story actually started was that I believe it was something around a year and a half ago, when we kicked off the discussions inside of the organization. So what is the purpose of all or each and every department that we have inside of the organization, especially on this kind of operational teams, that what is the goals or the target, what is the nirvana where we as a team would like to achieve or where we would like to see ourselves. And the idea was based on the Maslow pyramid. So you have the baseline, you have your building blocks on top of that, and on the top there is a nirvana. And our first nirvana moment was that if you're working in the talent acquisition, then you know that the nirvana is that the candidates are coming to you. You know, you don't need to hunt them, you don't need to kind of search them. And when we went to our company founder, Piret, with our presentation and the nirvana, then he said that this is too easy, guys. Maybe there should be something more behind that. Maybe the unique or this kind of really big achievement or the ambitious plan would be that the talent acquisition is actually running the business, telling us where to turn our head and where we should turn our focus next. So in order to achieve that, in order to peek around the corner, then you definitely need to understand that what are you doing today? And the data is one of the main ways how to understand where your bottlenecks are and what you need to actually improve or where you need to improve. And the talent intelligence part, the research comes in a way a little bit together with it. And this is peeking around the corner, understanding that what your competitors are doing. So the talent analytics, the sourcing and the research is all part of that. And this is my role today. And in Nortal, we are today across 10 plus different locations. Our team is 1,800 big, the total global team. And the talent acquisition team is also in different locations. So combining all of this information, how we are doing and what we need to achieve in the future, it's a quite challenging job, I would say. And regarding the numbers a little bit as well, that our goal this year is to make approximately 500 hires. So it's not a small task. Am I the only one who doesn't see the presentation, or?
We are seeing the presentation. You should see it also. No?
Actually, I cannot see it. I believe that you are on the slide where is my picture and maybe my title, yes.
I will share the slides again. There seems to be some kind of error from Livestorm side.
Mm-hmm.
Second.
It's just buffering, I would say, for me. But you can also tell me that if all the others are seeing the slide, then I put my own slide deck on the side for myself. So I can just see that what I'm talking about and just tell me on what.
Yeah, it seems that others are seeing the slides, but there's definitely some kind of error from Livestorm, because Livestorm is changing the slides, not me. So it's weird.
Okay.
Fun with the technology, but yeah, you can introduce yourself, or at least we're taking a look at the slides where you are with your own photo on it.
Awesome. So yes, as I already shared that who I am and what I do, and how the story was for my role or my current title as well. So a little bit maybe of the background as well additionally is that, as I mentioned, I have been 10 plus years in the recruitment. I have been working in the agency side. I have been working in the different product companies, both the ad tech and also the fintech side. And today I'm working at Nortal. Nortal is consultancy and software development organization. So we are digitalizing the world, and one of the proud moments to share as well, if there are people outside of Estonia who doesn't know, then Nortal is definitely one of the key players behind the e-Estonia. So all of those different online taxes and digital voting and stuff like that. So this is where we have been playing quite a big role. But so I hope that we can move now to the next slide.
Yes.
Which was meant for the storytelling and kind of gives the meaning as well, that what I mentioned before, that the data is never just the data. Data is the storytelling. And one of the things that I have understood during my career is that you can give people the data, you can give them the numbers, but each and every one is building the story behind those numbers. So whenever you are reporting, then it's just not bringing the numbers out, but it's explaining what's the story behind that. So the talent analytics, the recruitment process itself, everything is related to the storytelling. And I'm really happy that the storytelling part is actually today's topic a little bit later as well. So we can move to the next slide now. So if we are talking about the talent analytics and talent intelligence, then I will not go text line by line what is written here, but I just wanted to emphasize that what is the difference. So the talent analytics is mainly about the things that you measure, what you want to measure and what you can measure. And the talent intelligence is that what do you want to know. So in a simple way, you can also define it in a way that talent analytics is the data inside of your organization, and the talent analytics is answering your questions where you need to collect the data or the insight outside of the organization and compare with what you do or where you would like to go. Next slide, please. So if you talk about the data, then definitely there are many, many things that you can measure. I believe that if you are sitting down with your team and starting to discuss that what would you like to measure or what type of data you want to see, then the list would be enormous. Definitely the question there is that why you want to measure those things, what type of information this gives to you, and how do you do it? Does it make sense to do all of this data collection on a manual manner, or you can automate something? And let me tell you, we have done both. We have started manually, and now through the new applicant tracking system where we are moving in the future, we definitely collect more data in automated way. But yeah, the question there is that why and what you need to know. And additional point here where I also would like to emphasize is that you need to agree that what is the vocabulary that you are using and what's behind that. So in an example, the same story that when I said about the storytelling is that if you're measuring your data and if you're comparing this with the external data, then you need to compare apples with apples, not apples with oranges, because otherwise you will get totally wrong assumption that if you're on the good side or on the bad side. But if you now move to the next slide and talk a little bit that what's actually then can you do with this kind of strategic planning and the data side, then really simple example is that if you're planning the year ahead, then understanding that what is the number of roles that you need to hire, as an example, in 2023, and what also is the skill gap, where what type of roles do you need to hire. So this is the baseline of your planning, to understand that where you are today and where you need to be in the end of the year. The data can definitely give you different analysis results that you need to understand that how much your people may change their role inside of the organization. So you can make the assumption that how much those planned roles are actually moving into the external recruitment. What is the average number that one recruiter can actually bring? So you can understand that if your team size is up to the task, and also all of those other things that you can add up on there. And the execution part, definitely to understand that if your team, as an example, is not big enough to bring in the ambitious goals, then how do you plan the freelancer or the outsourcing, as we previously mentioned as well, that do you use agencies or not? Or if you don't want to use agencies and pay those extra high fees, then how you can bring in the additional freelancers. And definitely one of those core this kind of planning things that I believe that each and every company is measuring. If nothing else, then this is the time to hire, time to fill, time to start. So here also the vocabulary behind that, what do we mean behind the time to hire? In one company, it may mean that it's from the candidate perspective. It's the candidate journey when the candidate applies, and then the end line is when the offer is accepted. In the other company, it might be that when the recruitment request is given in, and then when the offer is accepted. So all of those different things you need to agree and plan. So the next slide, please. So here I wanted to also give a little explanation that what type of data you can measure through the talent intelligence part. So what are those things that are beneficial? So at Nortal, we are putting together this kind of little things called battle cards, which give us understanding of our competitors. What do they do and how do they do it, and where do we stand regarding those activities or the market plans that they have. So just the example question that from the talent intelligence part you may have is that you need to understand your competitor company. They can be your potential talent owner or also the acquisition target to expand your business either in your current location or maybe totally new location. So what are the sites or what type of information you need to look in order to understand that where they are and what they are doing. And then doing the storytelling, analyzing, and making the compelling picture that what's the honest truth of the situation. And with this data, you can also go to your business stakeholders and say that, this is what we should do based on our research, or this is where we are better based on our research. But as the 15 minutes is really short, then I also wanted to show you a couple of tools from where you can easily collect the information. So please, let's move to the next slides. And let's move to the slide number 9, which is LinkedIn Insights. So LinkedIn Insights, definitely, it is a paid tool. If you're using the regular LinkedIn Recruiter Lite or the enterprise solution, then you have partially those insights that you can see on the regular LinkedIn page, and you can select the company and each and every company has those little insights tied to their company page as well. But this LinkedIn Insights and the picture here, which I am showing, is through the paid tools, which is called LinkedIn Insights. And you can definitely collect many different data points from there. You can see that how those companies are doing, how many jobs they are publishing, what is their attrition rate, what are the locations for their main talents, what type of skills they are occupying or hiring at the moment, and also from what type of companies they are actually gaining the talent, and also what type of companies they are losing the talent. So this is the next slide that you can also bring forward. And this is additionally regarding the title. So if you, in the previous slide, there was a little bit visibility also regarding the hires. The 3,149 shows the in general number of hires. Then the next slide shows you among the titles, you can see that what type of people or what type of roles this organization has been hiring previously or during this 1 year. And you can also see that if they are growing in this specific pool of people or they are actually decreasing. So there's definitely lots of things that you can do with the LinkedIn Insight. So if you have the opportunities to purchase this, then I would definitely recommend. If not, then the next slide will show you how you can partially gain this information also through the recruiter license data. If you go into the company profile, and you can see at least some of the data. So this is one option, and we are using both of them. Another tool is which I show here, is the Horsefly Analytics, which gives even more in-depth information. Horsefly Analytics is definitely not the only one. There are many different type of tools that you can use regarding the data collection to understand your competitors better. But also in the same time, it gives you the same information regarding different talent pools and skill levels as well. So in what locations you can hire what type of skills. I hope, Maria, that you are now on the Horsefly Analytics slide.
I am.
Awesome. And if diversity and inclusion is also on your this kind of attention level, where you would like to hire more diverse people into your organization, then on this kind of location-based Horsefly Analytics also gives you understanding that the specific location, the specific skills, what type of skill levels are there, what type of titles they are using, but also the same diversity, inclusion, the gender breakdown, and etc. So as I said, Horsefly is definitely not the only one. There are many different tools with what you can do that. But the beauty of using those tools is that you don't need to do this manually. You can go in and it gives you the data out. And the next slide. So how you would use this type of data is that to understand your competitors, build your battle cards, and definitely there are many more different ways. As an example, when we did this kind of listing all of the things that we can do throughout the talent analytics and talent intelligence, then we collected all of the ideas into the Excel, and we collected 100 plus different rows that how we can help the talent acquisition team with a specific task or with a specific outcome of this data, or also how we could help the business, our key stakeholders, either the engagement / sales teams or the development teams, and etc. etc. So data gives you enormous amount of opportunities. But definitely, as said before, the rule is that collect, analyze, digest, and repeat. But part of it is definitely the storytelling. It's not giving out the raw data just with an Excel or the Power BI or Tableau or whatever you are using for the visualization of the data, but you are creating the narrative around that and you are driving the narrative around that. So as the time is short, next slide, key takeaways, build a strategic partnership with your organization. Data is definitely your helper. Understand what you need to measure and why you need to measure it. Vocabulary consistency, and data is here to play. You can definitely work around what's working and what's not. Start with small things, and your hunger goes deeper and deeper from this. I can definitely assure you this. I have the living proof of that. That's why my job title has changed as well. So next slide is thank you, and I hope you enjoyed. And if you have any questions, then I am happy to answer any of those. Almost in time.
Thank you, Piret. I have a couple of questions from the chat. Question number 1, what's the average number of hires per recruiter in Nortal?
Yes, this is the good question. Our goal is definitely 2 hires per recruiter per month. Are we there totally at the moment? Not fully, but almost. So, and the explanation there as well, as I said, regarding the data is that what type of roles do you hire? And in Nortal, I would say that 75-80% of the roles are engineering related. So.
Mm-hmm. And the other question, do you have any examples of battle cards that you can share?
I don't have them here at the moment, but I can definitely share some of them. If you write me directly, then I can share them.
Okay, so all of you who are interested in great battle cards or the example of a great battle card, reach out to Piret on LinkedIn, for example, and you will get the example. But thank you again. Let's move on to Dorothea. Yes. You will talk about your approach that you have taken in CRISP, which is not so usual, taking into account the current economical situation, maybe. So,
yeah, that's true. Talking a bit about a business case, indeed. Thanks, Piret. I'm actually really excited about your presentation because I'm also a lover of data and can relate that you get really excited once you dive in. Marie, maybe you can go to the next slides.
Yes.
Just to mention again a bit about my background. So I also started on the agency side, but then, as you can see, also moved to the scale-up environment, mainly in food and in tech, because besides the plants that you see behind me, I really like food, which can be really dangerous at times, especially when you work at a company like Tony's, where you get free chocolate every day, or CRISP right now, where we get the most amazing lunches. Here at CRISP, as I mentioned, I'm responsible for operations recruitment, and I'm going to tell you more about what that means. But first, a bit about CRISP. Maybe we can go to the next one. Here you actually see some snippets of our beautiful app. So we are a company from the Netherlands running an online grocery business. And we deliver to customers across all of the Netherlands, and since summer also to Belgium. And our mission is to make better food easily accessible to a wide range of people. And when you think about better food, or what we mean with that, is really extremely fresh, seasonal, local products, fairly produced, and just super delicious. If there are some listeners from the Netherlands or Belgium and you don't know CRISP yet, I can definitely recommend trying it out and ordering the croissants. And today I'll talk a bit about the business case of how we actually use the current situation in the market to our advantage. So for that, some more background information. CRISP, in our 4 years of existence, we already grew to around 1,000 employees. 90% more or less of those work in operations, and that is our warehouses and our delivery business. So my part of the recruitment team focuses on that part of the business. So that can be, for instance, order pickers in the warehouse or delivery drivers. We mostly hire part-timers. So most of our employees actually do this as a side job next to their studies or school. But obviously we also have others who do this as their main occupation. And for everyone that has worked with operations vacancies before, well, you know that there is a higher fluctuation or higher turnover than in the office. So we hire for that, but we also orientate our targets on the growth of the business, which also means that it can be quite high volume at times when needed. And I'll get to that later as well. What's the situation? Maybe next slide. As you all know, there's some uncertainty in the market, a volatile market. Most companies are just a bit more careful with their hiring plans. We also saw this in the Netherlands with some companies around us that even needed to close down or to completely stop hiring for the time being. And on top of that, Crisp always has to deal with seasonal fluctuations in the growth and the recruitment targets. This is completely normal. This is just how the industry works because customers just order more online in the colder and darker season. So that means for us that our team is extremely busy from around August, September onwards and really scales up until around Christmas. And then towards the summer, it becomes more quiet. So looking at this situation, you would expect that after Christmas, we would, especially this year in this current market, decide to completely go into a hiring freeze and just see what happens, maybe recruit for a replacement here and there, but that's it. But this is not what we did. Next slide. We actually decided, based on some things that I will mention eventually, that we want to continue really high speeds, completely continue with our recruitment and go into another sprint towards February, March. And why is that? You will maybe want to know. Next slide. We actually saw momentum here. So end of last year, we looked at, okay, what's the situation? Well, Crisp always had support by recruitment agencies to, scale up in the winter season, especially, which also led to a quite high amount of external employees, especially in the warehouses. And we saw the momentum to now make the switch and actually strengthen our own workforce. Just also, nicer to have people really dedicated to the business, really feeling a part of it. So some opportunities in there. So what we looked at is the recruitment data. We saw that the recruitment processes were running well. We had some good traction. Everything was going really smoothly because of the really sprint in the second half of last year. And really important when you hire such high amount of people is the cost per hire. And that was really low and stable for sure, also because of the current situation in the market, because not many other companies were hiring at that scale for the same type of people. But what I think is really important to mention as well is that we looked at, can we even handle more own employees? And do they even want to work for us? Is this the right decision? Can we do this or not? And for that, we looked at, for instance, the employee net promoter score. So we ask our employees regularly what they feel about the company, and that was a really healthy number as well. We also saw that people were quite happy with working at us because of the referral numbers. So in the second half of last year, around 1/4 of the warehouse hires actually came from referrals without us even promoting this much. And we also had some external employees asking us to take them over. So they actually proactively asked for this switch. So we indeed decided to go for it, to continue hiring and replace the external ones with internal employees. And we're really happy with the outcome. Within 2 months of this sprint, we decreased the external employees by more than half. Well, obviously, and I'm happy that Piret also mentioned this. This also has an impact on the operations cost, but also, cost per hire. I mentioned is really low and stable here, but we're actually still looking into it. What kind of impact this also has on cost within, for instance, the HR team. What does administration cost look like, and what's the onboarding cost that comes on top of it, and so on. But I'd also like to share a little bit of experience, some learnings that I took with me from the last months, but actually also last half year. And that is, first of all, that quality really goes over quantity. So maybe, most recruiters will have seen this triangle before, but I really like this because it really visualizes how it actually works. So you could only go for 2 of those corners, not 3 of them. It will always go. If you go for 2 of them, it always goes to the cost of the other one. And what we did when we ramped up for the winter season is we went for hiring a lot of people in a really short amount of time at a decent cost. But we, for sure had some people slipping through that didn't fit the job completely, or didn't fit the company completely. And that was really noticeable in the business, in the warehouse. We actually also, for sure, needed to replace some more people than we would have otherwise. So we took that shift around and actually went for speed, for quality and cost, which meant we hired a bit less quickly, but definitely a better fit. Next slide. What we noticed on top of that is it's really not enough to only make that switch from cost and speed to cost and quality within recruitment, but to also pull this quality aspect through to the departments that have impact on it later on. And I really need to give a big shout out here to our learning and development team, because they made sure that within a really short amount of time, they completely redesigned our onboarding process for the warehouse employees, which meant that no matter how many people start on the same day or in the same week, everyone really feels welcome and has the time to adjust to the company, to really get a warm start. And they also really pulled this through so that the leadership teams in the warehouse actually did the same, could create a bond with the employee and the other way around, so that nobody felt like a number. Next slide. And the last thing I really took with me is that good processes and really a team that is set up for success can really move a mountain. So what we did when we started the sprint is we changed our processes completely, and we also worked much closer, much more dedicated within the team, which meant that even without changing anything with our really basic systems, we could already hire much more than twice the amount of people. But now we really get to the point that we also notice systems are also maybe equally important to really professionalize and to scale even more. So what we notice is, you can have high hiring numbers, but you can't really, for instance, show your employer brand throughout the candidate journey. Candidate experience was definitely not as high as we would hope otherwise. And what is really important for us in the candidate experience is that we have a personal approach and transparent approach, really, make sure everyone knows what's happening at all times. And that's just really difficult when you work with hundreds and hundreds of candidates without having the support from the system. And I hope maybe the employee brand part is a little bit of a bridge to Gina's presentation. I'd also like to mention RecruitLab is not paying me for this systems aspect, but we're actually really looking into a new system here at CRISP. Thank you.
Thank you, Thoro. Maybe you can mention a couple of things you plan to change in the future, or maybe there are some things like in your list you're dreaming about. Some changes in the process or the way recruiters work in the future?
I think the biggest change for us will indeed be the system. So right now we work in a lot of like self-made systems pulled together so that we can actually have this support that the recruiters need to take care, not to forget basically any of the candidates. And changing to a new system will definitely also have an impact on the recruiters. It will, so the whole approach or the way of working that they have will become much more people focused than administration focused. So right now the whole process or every task that they do is really administration heavy, but now they will actually have the time to shift to a really to an actual recruitment job, let's be honest.
Okay, really good, thank you. Gina, let's move to your presentation. From the very first call we had with you, you stressed the importance of storytelling in talent. And I totally agree with you. The employers need to have like a strong story. Their messages have to be like clear and attractive, especially in those like turbulent times. So I'm really curious about your recommendations and
no worries. And thank you, Dorothea, for setting me up so nicely with that little intro. So I was nodding away like, yep, and I'm going to say a little bit more on that in a minute. So thank you for that. But yeah, so hi again, I'm Gina. So I'm, as I said before, the recruitment marketing and employer brand manager here at AO. And my role, my team's role, is to support all things talent attraction and just really showcase why we are an employer of choice. So whenever people ask me for help, normally I'll respond with, I've either got my recruitment marketing hat on today or my employer brand one for this task. Because although both are completely intertwined, they are really different things. So I'm going to go through a few things today, talk about the importance of both of them, and as Maria said as well, really dive into that power of storytelling within employer brand as well. So thank you. So before I dive into all the good stuff, what I really wanted to do was just outline that difference between recruitment marketing and employer brand. A lot of the time they can get lumped under the same umbrella, and they are very different things. You know, the reality is you need to use both skill sets to get the best people through your door. So recruitment marketing to me is key to making sure that your vacancies are in the right place, so and being seen by the right people. So are you advertising on the right job boards and platforms? You know, are you running a targeted paid social media campaign? And that's all under that recruitment marketing side of things. But employer brand is really what's going to seal the deal. As with any type of branding or marketing, you need to be front of mind for your customer. And I guess the only difference for us in talent and employer brand is that our customers are our candidates. So they need to buy into us as a place to work. And that ongoing focus is so, so crucial. Typically the best candidates, they're already going to be in a job, they're quite comfortable where they are. And when they do decide it's time to move on, they've probably already got a list of 5 or 6 different companies that they wouldn't mind working at. So, and that's pretty much all down to employer brand and what those companies have done to plant that seed ahead of when they're ready to make the move. So essentially, you've just got to think, what type of impression are you leaving on people that aren't necessarily looking for a job at that moment in time? Next slide, please, Marie. So as with any good story, we need to start at the beginning. So I'm going to share a little bit more about AO and what we stand for as a business. For those listening in the UK, it will be really hard not to recognise AO and our catchy rally cry, which we adopted many years ago now, AO, let's go. We ran a string of TV adverts back in the day, and it's still one of the first things that a lot of people will respond with when you tell them they work for AO. But for those that haven't heard of us, we're the UK's most trusted electrical retailer and the largest online only one too. So think washing machines, TVs, laptops, phones, doorbells, we literally have the lot. So what I've shared on the screen is our mission, values and purpose essentially. So our mission to be the destination for electricals. Our purpose, we make customers' lives easier by helping them brilliantly. And our values. So we have 4 core values. We treat every customer like our gran. We make decisions that make our mums proud with a growth mindset, and we operate at AO speed. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because a lot of people can confuse company values with an EVP, the employer value proposition. Next slide, please, Marie. Company values are definitely that foundation for the standards, the behaviours expected for all employees. So right away from the bottom up to the exec leadership. But an EVP is more than that. It's essentially that promise, that commitment. It's what employees gain in return for working for your company. So to be truly effective, your EVP must align that whole work experience from culture, mission and values through to things like rewards, benefits, job offerings and the people. Like I say, it's that commitment to your employees. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is a diagram that I've sort of put together, which is a really useful way of essentially what goes into an EVP and how it's delivered. So if you take the central part first, this is essentially what it's made up of. You know, you've got things like your talent segments, who are you aiming for, what are your audience, what's the drivers, and what is your key differentiator, what makes you stand out compared to other businesses. And of course, what's fed into that isn't just you dictating that as a business. It's made up of, well, I like to say 3 things: what your business needs, so taking into account things like your commercial goals, your strategies, where you want to be, your direction, what you need in order to get there, your candidate needs, so what that external market is dictating. You know, is it that they want a great salary, flexibility when they move? Is it that they want the culture? Is it want learning and development? You know, it's all of that tied into it. And also the third bit, which sometimes people can forget about, is employee needs. So people that currently work for your business are also just as important. It's why should they stay there? Why should they not look somewhere else? You know, what is it that you can offer? What's your commitment to them in that whole journey life cycle? And then moving towards the right of the model as well, this is the bit where a lot of people can get mixed up, and you know, even internally I sort of often have to say employer brand is one part of this puzzle, and although an EVP is typically owned by your people team, your HR team, it's split into 2 sides. How I see it internally, which is the employee experience, how it is lived and breathed every day, how you show up as an employer in those moments that matter. And then employer brand is external. It's what is your perception in the market, and how do you communicate these values and these things you stand for as an employer to potential candidates and to anyone looking at what it could be like to work there externally. Next slide, please, Marie. So this is a sort of sneak peek into our EVP pillars at AO. The reason why I'm showing you this is because without a strong set of pillars that underline your EVP, you can really lose sight of what you stand for as an employer. And I guess what your commitment is to your current and future employees as well. And, you know, as Piret and Dorothea have both said, across the globe, we've seen so many businesses go through a period of change in the last 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, scaling back spending, making cuts, changing direction. And, you know, as we've said, it's unlikely any of them have paused hiring completely, even if it's just to, you know, replace leavers. But like any good brand, you need to have a framework or a system that keeps all of your messaging consistent. And so for us, an employer brand, it stems back to our EVP pillars. Next slide, please. So what I've put on screen here is some examples of how our social content links back to those people pillars. I've just pulled out a few. There's lots on there, so do have a dig around afterwards and see if you can identify which one's which. But one here, so Love AO, that's all about that connection to the business and celebrating the brilliant people that we have here. This was a post that was a bit of a recap on Black Friday, so I'm sure many of you are aware Black Friday is one of the biggest global events now, I think, for anyone in an e-commerce or retailer space. And we always have a theme here in our offices. In November, the last one, it was Alice in Wonderland. You can see some of that. Some of our amazing colleagues dressing up. So we had loads of things like fun, games, food. We even had a giant chessboard where our CEO was playing matches with customer service specialists. It was I've never seen anything like it before. It was brilliant, and that video is just scratches the surface of what the day was really like. So do check that out afterwards. Always learning. So what we did here, it was a bit of a recap on the launch we did for our tech apprenticeships. We had a coding challenge set up in our canteen to get people involved and signed up. So again, a really big sort of internal activation as well as showcasing that externally, and doing good. So we give all of our AOers 2 days a year called Make a Difference days, where they can essentially use their paid time to donate that to charities and good causes. So this was some of our learning and development team that helped a local community centre give that a bit of a revamp as well. So, and, you know, full transparency, since posting some of these, we've gone through change ourselves as an organisation. You know, we're not any different to anyone else. The business might change, the direction might change, but your pillars should always remain the same. And at the end of the day, you can and should always be showcasing your offering to the external market. Next slide, please, Marie. So those examples are great for showcasing, I guess, some of what you're like to work for, but candidates aren't stupid. They want to hear from real people sharing real stories about what it's like to work for you. So storytelling is one of the most powerful and effective techniques that any company can use to really bring that employer brand to life. There's a stat that something like 92% of people will trust recommendations from friends and family over any kind of marketing, promotion, or advertising. So those polished and glossy messages, they're usually just the starting point for any kind of branding material. And that's still important. Don't get me wrong. We have that here too. We have all the nice fluffy stuff, but it's got to go way beyond that as well. It goes back to that age-old saying of show, don't tell. And how many times do you hear companies say, we're a great place to work, but then there's no substance behind it. There's nothing there to really kind of say, this is why. And yeah, too many people do, that's the answer. So using real colleague stories to convey those messages and what you stand for is crucial. And I guess, you know, what is a brand without trust? So next slide, please, Marie. And one of the best things in my role is that I sit under the people team, as I mentioned. So every day I'm surrounded by people that are talking to other AOers across the business that have just been promoted or have been, you know, part of a D&I network, or they've just completed an apprenticeship. So we're really one of the best teams to be connected to what's going on in the business. Where are those movers and shakers? And since I've joined AO, effectively what we've put in place is a bit of a mechanism now where you've almost got the whole business working for you in finding and sharing those stories. And these stories, you know, it goes beyond employer brand. They're a brilliant recruitment marketing tool too. So having that bank of content from colleagues in every department, in every location, it means that as soon as one team is hiring, you can really dial that up. You can promote a story from someone in that team onto your social media channels. So it's front and center during any recruitment marketing campaigns. Next slide, please, Marie. So as I mentioned, a good employer brand should be built on transparency and authenticity. Storytelling can definitely help deliver that message that you want to tell in an authentic way, but it's got to be genuine, and it goes hand in hand. This is why employee advocacy is so important. Some businesses will call them brand ambassadors, and they can be very selective. They can go, look, we've identified 5 people and they're going to be our face of social media, if you like. But like I said, I think it goes way beyond that. It's about creating a culture where employees want to share their experience, and there is no incentive behind it. You know, they've not been cherry picked. This is natural conversations happening because they're proud of where they work. Next slide, please. I've got a couple of examples here, and these are literally just 2 that I've picked off LinkedIn in the last week or so. And it just sort of shows how people are talking about the business themselves. And it, like I say, all starts with creating that culture of wanting to share your experience. And I guess secondly, knowing how to do so and providing the right tools and and direction for them to do so. You know, it could be a project they're working on, like this example here of Rachel, who shared a qualification she's just gained that have been supported by AO. Or again, the example on the right, Jay has shared, we had some talks in from some of our amazing partnerships with Sale Sharks and Manchester Thunder. We had people come in and give us these talks on International Women's Day. So these aren't things that we've asked them to share. These are things that, you know, they're proud to work here. They're proud to share that this is something that we've supported with them or that they've engaged with whilst being in the business and helping deliver that message externally. Every single thing that's put out there, whether that's from yourself as an employer or from your employees yourself, it helps build that perception of what you're like as an employer to that market. Next slide, please, Marie. So I am going a bit full circle here, back to the EVP, but the reason why having one is so important is because, you know, I think Dorothea said this as well about the candidate experience. Every single touch point you have with a potential candidate, current or even ex-employee, leaves an impression on your employer brand. And that's why you have to be remembered for the right reasons at the moments that matter. Next slide, please. So what we've done, there's a whole big piece of work around this, and this is just a one slide snippet, but what we've done is identify the real key touch points in an AO's life cycle. So that's from attraction right the way through to when people leave us. As a people team, we need to make sure that our people proposition is activated at every single point of the journey, and that we really are extraordinary in those moments that matter. So essentially the main stages are obviously becoming an AOer, when you're part of that family, and then even after they leave, making sure that they leave us as fans and that they have had a good time. But like I say, true candidate experience begins way before they've even applied for a job. It's how your social content makes them feel. It's what people are saying on Glassdoor, what type of language and tone of voice you use in your job adverts. Every single touch point of every campaign that you run will feed into your overall employer brand. Next slide, please. And this is just a lasting stat to kind of leave you with, but 68% of candidates think that a company's hiring process reflects how it treats its employees. So giving your candidates an efficient, positive experience throughout the process shows them that you value and respect them as employees. The reverse is also true. So a poor candidate experience will make them think that your business doesn't respect the people that work there. And it's more likely that that top talent will choose to work with their competitor instead. So it really is key to that strong employer brand story. And that's me. That kind of brings me to the end. So a lot to digest in 15 minutes there. But thank you. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Gina. A lot of good ideas how to improve the whole recruitment part, marketing part, and also employer branding part. Maybe you can mention a couple of key metrics you are using either in recruitment marketing or in employer branding.
Yeah, of course. I mean, recruitment marketing is easier, I would say easier to put metrics behind, because you are looking at numbers, you are looking at data, you're looking at things like source of application, you know, your cost per hire, your cost per application, where people come from, and what that journey is like, and drop-off rates and things like that. So in recruitment marketing campaigns, you can generally track conversion quite a lot better. You can see where they've come from and how they've followed through in that process. Employer brand is very much, it's more narrative, it's more around sentiment and how you measure that. And you can measure things like your NPS scores, you can measure things like your ratings on, you know, Glassdoor and Indeed and things like that, but that's such a small part of it. And things like what percentage of your employees are being advocates on LinkedIn, things like that, like there's lots of different ways you can do it, but it's very sentiment driven, and you have to really take all of that and paint that entire picture when you're sharing that back with the business.
Mm-hmm. I have one last question to all of you. There are, like right now, we have quite interesting times, a lot of challenges, but also a lot of opportunities for recruiters and hiring teams in general. In your opinion, what kind of skills should recruiters have or develop to offer more value to companies, especially during the downturn or during those difficult times? Piret, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think that there are definitely many skills that are complementing the recruiter's succession in this difficult era. But I think this kind of business partnering is something that comes really high in my this kind of personal wish list. That every recruiter would have this, because if you understand your business better, then you are providing your candidates also better candidate journey with better information, with better feedback, and all in all, everything would be more beautiful. I was looking for the correct word.
Beautiful is good. Thank you. Dorothea, what do you think? What kind of skills recruiters should have developed?
Yeah. When I think about the situation of my team here at CRISP, then I think flexibility is really a big one. As I said, our targets are really moving with the growth of the company, and there are seasonal fluctuations as well. So we really need to jump from full speed to, oh no, not that much. And then again, and in between also work on projects that maybe don't have anything to do with the candidates management at all. So really this flexibility to jump from one thing to the other and shift your mindset quickly, that's definitely of advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I guess for me, I'm trying not to be completely biased and say they need to be great at attraction, because obviously that's my kind of world. But there's an element of that I do think is true. You know, such a large part of recruitment, as you know, as a hands-on recruiter, is that marketing element and that ability to kind of sell, and not in a I guess doing it in a way that's totally human-centric, in a way that really brings it to life. So you're not just going, we're brilliant, here's someone else that says that, and really helping to shape that vision for them of why they should come and work here, and or if you know, if it's agency side, why they should work for that particular client of yours. You know, really bring it to life with examples. So I guess it's that human-centric approach to attraction.
Yeah, I would also add the fact that we should start loving data, or using data, looking at numbers and analyzing numbers, because all of the recruiters are really good with people, really good communication skills, etc. But if we add everything that data has to offer, then we have like all the superpowers that we could have. We did a survey a couple of years ago among 2,000 recruiters, and one of the questions or one of the results we got was that 63% of the recruiters said that they feel undervalued in the business world. But I think if we start using more data, and if we make the whole recruitment process more transparent and actually show what we are doing on a daily basis, then we or recruiters will be more seen and more valued in the business world in general.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Data is your ally.
Yeah. Let's finish with that. Thank you, Piret, Dorothea, and Gina, for joining me today. And to all of our participants, if you would like to start using more data in your recruitment process, feel free to book a product tour with us. I'm happy to share more information about RecruitLab. We're happy to show you how to use more data, how to make your life easier, and how to actually make decisions based on data. Thank you. Also, keep an eye on our LinkedIn page, because we will soon announce our next webinar with our next guest speakers. So join us next time as well. Thank you for joining us today, and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.